Da da. Little theme music never hurts. This is our lecture for part two of Inside Reporting, pages 122 through, let's see what that last page number was, 137. 137, yeah. So, I asked that we're going to just follow the same thing we've been doing in class. And if you have a textbook, pull it out, follow along with us. And if you don't have a textbook, go under assignments content area. I have scanned all the pages and pull it up, and you can look through it as I go over this. And we're going to do our lecture, part two, and writing features. So here we go. So the first thing about, let's see, writing features is we're going to talk about, let's see, structure. So the one thing I really want you to think about when you write your feature article is to really outline it and really think about how you want to put it together. It's like building a house, you know. You don't build the outside first. You give it a good skeleton and you build it. It's just like English class, you know. You learn how to write that paper. So here we go. The standard structured story is before you start doing any writing, look at all the material that you review, and it says the facts, opinions, and antidotes, and try to decide how long is this story going to be. Let's just keep going. So how long should your story be, and what's the most appropriate length for your topic? How much depth will satisfy your readers? So I would say that if you don't have much depth in your story, but you have a lot of pictures, that could balance things out. But sometimes people really want to get a little depth. If you're going to write a feature, write something that's got some depth and some length to it, something that really gives some good information. That's my opinion. What's my best material? What deserves the most emphasis? What's expendable? Because sometimes you're going to have too much information and I'm bored and I don't want to read it, right? So we don't want to read it. What are the key points that you want to make, and what's the most effective way to make them? Suppose you interviewed the oldest couple in town for Valentine's Day feature, and you're ready to write a 500-word story that combines history, anecdotes, and advice. Okay, well, that's one way to do it. Make sure you outline your story. So we're right here on page 122. Okay, so a sweet anecdote lead, you could write, there's a lot of ways you could make it. A description of the couple, their history. So you see how they've outlined it right here. Their history, how they met, their courtship, their advice for love, a cute ending. That's a sweet little story. That works. Or you could arrange the main sections of the story into a different yet equally logical order. So there, think about how you're putting it together, the nuts and bolts of it. That works. Or you could arrange the main section of the story into a different yet equally logical order. The lead, the romantic advice, their history. Whoops, somebody's calling. I have to call her back. So then you've got the next kind of way. So they're showing you a couple different ways that you could actually put the same story together. So you can make it a lead, the romantic advice, their history, description, but they're making it the structure. They're showing you a different way that you could structure the same identical story. Same material, different structures. Both versions work just as well. Just notice how writing a simple outline can provide a useful overview of your entire story. So that's really crucial. The first we went over in the early, the first part one was going and get your research. Really dig in and find some good research quality. Get some quotes. You might interview some people. Maybe you might interview your parents or something. I don't know, your family, since we're all locked in right now. Notice how, okay, so we're talking about notice how just simply by the way you structured your outline, you can tell a whole different story by the way you structured it. and you can find a good material to include in just adding and rearranging sections or something everybody's accounted for. Some stories can be really loose, and on my opinion, I'm looking at this right. Some stories can be structured in loose, intuitive way, and others need to be organized more rigidly, so readers won't get distracted and confused. So I think sometimes, though, as we talked about in part one, it also has to do with your um, how you're a writer, your voice. Right now at this point, maybe in your life, you don't completely have your voice. Maybe you do. It's about knowing yourself and knowing your voice. Like an example, Tom Wolfe and some of the writers that were actual novelists wrote, as a sideline for a newspaper, and they had a voice, and their unique voice came through when they wrote their features. So maybe that's you. Think about what your voice is as you're thinking about writing features. Um, Either way, the body of your story will progress in a logical way, but you can also add structure to the beginning and ending of the story by adding the kebab, the Wall Street Journal format. Do you remember that from earlier in the semester where it's kind of like making structure, you stack things on top. So suppose your topic is couples who ignore Valentine's Day and use the kebab format. So you'd begin with an anecdotal lead. John and Jenny Smith are madly in love, and for Valentine's Day this Friday night, John's going bowling with his buddies, and Jenny's going shopping. Why? Like a growing number of modern couples, John and Jenny hate Valentine's Day. The story begins with John and Jenny, and it will end by returning to John and Jenny. They look like bookends with the story. So here's how they're doing the anecdotal lead. So you want to just study that. So it's really simple the way they've done it. Like they start out with it's a hook. They talked about why they hate Valentine's Day and why they don't get together on Valentine's Day. And then they this is kind of nice how they wrote. And then they have it's anecdote stories. Another popular way to structure stories is arranged in chronological order. The history of Valentine's Day, which is be cool with some pictures. All right, moving on. You can be reading this on your own if you want, okay? This is interesting. So one way to distinguish news stories from feature stories is that news stories usually use inverted pyramids, as you remember earlier in the semester. You stack things and we do it in short sentences. Features seldom do. Take the examples at right. Also, it's hard to read. Sorry about that. Let me turn my page here. So, the inverted pyramid is an efficient way to organize your facts in a news story. But when you write features, efficiency isn't your top priority. It's more important to find an engaging way to structure your material. Let me go. This is just some examples if you want to read this here. I'm going to keep on moving. Short form structures using alternative approaches to convey information. So this is an example of what a short form structure is, the perfect kiss. And it's really engaging. You've got pictures here and you see these lovers and you see some eyeglasses and you see people kissing and you see Gene Simmons here and you see the chocolate kiss. These little red things here. Number one, it's and look how the type is all laid out, the baby, and it's really engaging. So that's one of the key things about that. So well, that's interesting. So eons ago, when dinosaurs ruled the Earth back around 1980, a story had to be a series of photographs stacked together in a gray clump. And the more important story, the bigger the clump. Okay, that's the old-timey stories. Okay. So some people still think that's true, but I'm an artist, so if you come up with a story like this and put it all out and make it beautiful, I'm going to go give you an A. I'm going to be like, yes, yes. Okay, so what do you do? Let's see, what do you call a thing like the perfect kiss? colorful or easier to produce, free. Okay, so I just want you to look over this. So you could write the story as a long list of bullet items like this, or you could number every item and write the headline numerical. Our 10 favorite love songs. Then you make some pictures. That could be nice. And you could write each item as a separate chunk to be designed as the example at right. Okay. Okay. So this short form type, I just want you to look over this page. This short form is just a one way of doing it. It has to be appealing, and you do have to know how to use something like InDesign, Adobe InDesign. By the way, while I'm talking, I'm going to make a public service announcement here. I don't know if you have it, but now until the end of June, Adobe apps are free to students. So if you would like to use Adobe InDesign or any app to make your feature when we go to do that, let me know and I will get you set up on that. Okay, end of public service announcement. All right, so this is one type. So let me just go back and make sure I get the standard story structure. That's one form of features. We're going to go over the different types of features. The short story structures, an alternative approach to convey information. Now, also in some of these short forms, they have graphics, like graphs and like diagrams and some charts that's in here to explain, like how, you can explain anything, how earthquakes happen. You could write something about how pandemic viruses happen, you could do an in-depth research about the corona, COVID-19 virus and do a feature about that, there's a whole lot of information about that right now. Writing profiles. I'm not sure if we went over this. So writing a profile, I know some of you have. Somebody came in and did a writing profile on me one day. A lot of professors are easy access. So capturing personalities by painting word pictures. So you can always Google and find some good examples of that. How to research and write successful profiles. So you want to interview and observe, and definitely bring a record or have some good notes. This is somebody here that's I shoot symbolically. So a lot of them work with a photographer. Interviews focus. Look over this page. I'm not going to give it too much blah blah. 3 ways to paint a better portrait. So I know some of you are actually love to write, and I can tell by the way you write. So you like to, let's see, so recreate scenes. So I know these feature writing is going to be right up your alley. So this is some examples here. Recreate scenes, add quotes and dialogue, capture the details, like her long blonde highlighted hair fluttered in the wind. As you could really get into this when you really get descriptive. Like that's why. Sorry about that. That's why there's so many, like I said, novel writers that also do this. Or how complete is your profile? Find out what's in the Walmart sack and don't leave it. Oh wow, this is interesting. Checklist. So this is a checklist of how complete is your profile here. Find out what's in the Walmart sack and don't leave without it. So read over that. Enterprise projects. Special stories allow projects to reach beyond the routine. So here's some ideas. Feeding the beast, covering a mix of crimes. That's interesting. So this would be something like this. I would call a passion project. Oh, look at this. You see this right here? I'm pointing to reaching for a cure when hope flickers. That would be an interesting topic. Like I said, I'm waiting for one of you to write something about the coronavirus. I think that would be a great topic. Issues. You know what? Another good example to look for, if you look for examples of to help you write, A feature article is to look on the USA Today. That would be very interesting. So advice on reporting, writing enterprise stories. Take a look at that. An enterprise story. Do I quite understand it? Okay, spending, feeding their beasts, mixing crime, Okay, yeah, go back and read over that. So control the material, look for universal connections, talk to the editor every day. Okay, this is pretty in-depth project here. Spent months talking, taking notes in hospital room. Okay, this writing an enterprise stories, I think it's a lot like doing a documentary film, which is really in depth and takes a lot of time to do. It would be like something like reporting, like 2020 program. I relate this more to television, but you know what I'm saying. Like you would see this like in Time magazine, um, something like that. Read over this page. I don't think we're going to write one in this class right now at this time, but read over it, and it's good to know. Okay. All right. Investigative reporting. We probably won't be doing that in this class either because of our circumstances, but I always thought it was interesting. In a free society, some journalists do more than just explain, they expose. And you remember the example talking about Nellie Bly, how she exposed the abuses of checking yourself into an asylum, insane asylum, and she became very known for that. Um, there's a lot of things that like people in what do you call them, whistleblowers who write books. There's been a lot of whistleblowing going on lately with this latest administration. Um, so that's definitely a trademark in a free society. And um, I would say it takes a special kind of person to be investigative reporter. Digging up dirt. Remain objective, focus tightly, keep your nose clean, and work the web. Um, if you are doing some kind of investigative reporting, I will say from my experience that it's really best to know people. When if you're going to go into reporting and journalism, networking is 98% of it. And if people know you and then something happens, there's always people coming to you and say, "Oh, I got a story." And some of it isn't something you're going to be interested in. But then there's always that one that, if you're working on something, people are going to give you some kind of tidbit of information, or they'll pass along where to find the information. You'll be privileged to some things. That's when it gets pretty cool. Let me keep going. But definitely as a journalist, if you get a job working for a paper or a news organization, just network and make a lot of friends. That makes a breakthrough. When you're reporting background, how did it prepare you to tackle a major story like this? Okay, so we're going to keep on rolling. You can read through that. Package planning. Now, you're not going to have a team to build your project. So, but I do want you to look over that. So, not in newsrooms, there's like a assembly, and I would say that in television and networks, it's like you have a crew. You're not a lone wolf. Some people are. The bloggers or can be lone wolves. Um, YouTubers can be a one person. Nowadays in the workforce, um, their jobs, their people, companies are looking for people who can do it all. But chances are you might have like a team of people working with you. Um, a visual journalist. It doesn't hurt, like I said, to know InDesign, to know more of the apps. You can take that on. Check over this real quick here, package planning form to improve your story's presentation. So I think this is really a good idea right here. If there's a form inside the book, I also scanned it so you can print it. I would like to see you Can you summarize? Oh, this is good. Okay, so let's go over this real quick. So the story ideas, can you summarize a story in 25 words or less? That's a good test to see if your focus is tight enough and if you're still struggling with a fuzzy concept. So, sometimes we come up with such a good idea. I just see students do it all the time, but their idea is too big. Like, I want to talk about global warming, but you know what? You know how big that topic is? Like, it's as big as this planet, literally. But what if you streamlined it into something 15 words? You would be like, well, let's talk about the decline of bees since the decline of bees and how bees make honey, and that could be a topic. Questions readers will ask. The first question every reader is asked, and this is what you should be thinking about when you think of your feature, is why should I care? And why should I read this? That's a big thing, is how are you going to engage your audience? So, and that's one of the questions that's going to be on this form. How can you identify them, and where do they invade the house? How? Okay, right. Okay, so these, let me go, if I can go up a little bit. Here you go. I'm going to make it so we can actually read this. So these are the questions that you think your readers are going to ask. You're going to write that down. How you're going to answer it. And this is how you're going to plan your feature. And here's the main headline. So this is really, really nice. And here they drew out all the information on here. Go back down. Whoops. So I want you to really carefully look over this section here. And I want some feedback from you, because I would really like to see you explore doing a really nice looking feature and a page. And, I would like to know, do you feel like you have the skills or technology to pursue that in this class right now? So here is your form. And this is what we're going to start on. So I think you can copy it. You can print it out. You can copy it. This whole thing is a PDF. So you can maybe get it printed out, let me know. Or you can just draw it out on a piece of paper and take a JPEG of it and load it up. Okay, so we're going to go over this quick right here. This is another form of feature articles. Is the writing editorials and columns. And you can read over this. I'm just going to go over it and say that a lot of news these days, like Fox News, Maddox, I could just go on. Nowadays on these 24-hour channels, they have to come up with content, and they can't keep running the news 24 hours a day because they'd be saying the same thing over and over and over. So a lot of things are opinion. That's TV shows right now out. So there's definitely arena, a lot of political analysis and things like that. But let's just move on, because I don't think we're going to have time to do that. If we had a regular semester, we probably would. Editorials, like I said, editorial is kind of like writing I call it the argument paper, the essay in English. You have to take a topic that you're passionate about and write about it. Let's move on. I'm not going to make you do that this semester. So let's see. Let's keep moving on. Writing commentary about, oh yeah, vice columnist like a Dear Abby. You could be like that. That could be your column. Reviews. Now, I don't know if we're going to have time to write a review. Maybe you could. That could be your feature. You can write a thing about a review about a new movie that's coming out. It could be a book that's just came out. music, a new gadget. Maybe the new iPhone has just come out and you could write about that. You can read over this section here. Let's see. Yep, maybe you're getting a new car. Maybe you're a car person. You can write a review about that. Now, how to write criticism that gets good reviews. You can read over that because we're probably not going to do that. Structure your reviews. Don't ramble and rant. You know, just be solid with your writing. All right, moving on. All right, that's our last page. Okay. Do's and don'ts. Okay, so we're coming to the end. Let me make sure we come into the end and I didn't just mess that up. We are coming to the end of our features chapter in our book. So your work is to read over this and really think about how features are put together. And I will put this in the discussion area. I would like you to use this sheet in this part of it to help you use this sheet here to help you structure your feature. And I wanted you to think about what kind of feature article would you like to write. Tell you what, right now I'm going to post this in the discussion area, and I want you to think about what, in the comment section, write about something about this lecture, and I want you to think about what you would like to write your feature on. This one should be fun. I just really want you to enjoy this one. The other, just something that you really enjoy. Okay, well, I've rambled on long enough and tried to make this lecture as much as being like class as I can. And I hope that thank you for hanging in there with me. And I'll talk to you soon, okay? All right, later. Bye.